Hey y'all, it's me Nita, and I am finally back to do my labor and delivery story. Yeah, it's been a while, but I just had to get adjusted and get into the swing of things, the new normal and everything. So let me go ahead and get into it because I don't want this video to be too long. Today is Tuesday, August the 29th. Jada officially turned 1 month on this past Saturday, August 25th. So I'm sorry, August 26th. So it's been a while and I didn't write anything down, so I'm just going off the top of my dome. Okay, so I had a vaginal delivery, I had an epidural, and my labor was induced. Jada came on her original due date, which was July 26th. Somewhere in my pregnancy they ended up moving my due date up to July 21st. So towards the end of my pregnancy, long story short, I was induced. I was induced on Monday, July 23rd. And I went into the hospital to start the Epidural. That Monday I had to be there at, I want to say 6 o'clock, because the shift changed at 8 and she wanted them to go ahead and start it before the shift change. When I got there, they were really busy, so they didn't end up starting my Epidural until around 8 o'clock, 8 or 9 that evening. Yeah, so they started me on the Epidural because my cervix was soft, but I hadn't dilated, and I guess it needed to get softer or something. So they started me on the Epidural that Monday around 8 o'clock. That Tuesday morning, which was the 25th, around 8 o'clock, they checked me. My cervix was completely soft. I was still only dilated to, I had only been dilated like fingertip. I was still the same. So they were not ready to start me on the what is it called that they give you, dang, whatever the stuff is called, y'all know the stuff they give you that make the contractions come, the Pitocin. They were not ready to start me on the Pitocin just yet, so she told them to give me the Cytotec. So they gave me the Cytotec. And the Cytotec went ahead and got things going. Come to find out, you know, before, I didn't think that I had been contracting at all. And when they asked me if I had contractions, I told them no. But when I went to the doctor and they put me on the monitors, I had a contraction, and she was like, "Did you feel that?" And I was like, "Yeah, she balling up." And they're like, "No, you had a contraction." And so come to find out, I had been having contractions a lot that week before, but I thought it was her balling up. Like I would, especially I had them a lot at night, and I would wake up to just a tight knot right under my breast. And I thought that she was like balling up in my stomach. I didn't know that it was a contraction. So learn something new every day. But anyway, so yeah, so that Tuesday morning they started me on the Cytotec, and that got me up to about a 3. At that point, they said, okay, we're ready to go ahead and start the Pitocin. So they started me on a Pitocin around, I want to say around 12 o'clock. And that Tuesday, the 25th, and things went ahead and started progressing. The pain from the contractions was bad, but it wasn't to the point where, like, you know, when you see people screaming and just going crazy. For me, my contraction pain was not that bad. It didn't make me want to scream and, you know, all that. But it was intense. And so when I got the epidural, they asked me, they told me once I dilated to a 3, I could get the epidural. I went ahead and I ended up waiting until I dilated to a 5 though. I didn't get the epidural until I dilated to a 5 because he asked me if I was ready for it. I said no, I think I can wait. And the reason I wanted to wait is because I didn't want the epidural to wear off by the time I pushed. I heard people say it did. I heard people say it didn't. I don't know how true it is. My first baby. So I was just like, you know what? I can take it right now, so I'll wait. Once I got to about a 5, which was not long after, I went ahead and I was like, yeah, I want to go ahead and get the epidural, because at that point they were getting real intense, and I was like, the fact that they can get worse than this and I'm only at a 5, I'll go ahead and take the epidural. Y'all, getting the epidural I thought was going to be the worst thing in the world, but it actually was not bad. The only thing I felt was the little stings. I felt like bee stings when he numbed me, because he told me what he was doing before. I will say the hardest part to me about getting the epidural is how they want you to bend your back. I mean, they want you to bend, you know, like a cat and like stick your spine out. And it's really hard when you're pregnant. And also, you know, when you're having contractions and then you're trying to be still and you're trying to poke your spine out as far as you can. And I'll never forget that guy kept saying, you have a weird anatomy. And I was like, okay, so are you going to be able to do my epidural or no? Like, anyway, long story short, like I said, I finally got in position. The nurse was there helping me, holding me. She said, when you feel a contraction, just squeeze my hands as hard as you can. You just don't want to move. I said, okay, fine. So I'm, you know, uncomfortable, pushing my back out as far as I possibly can, you know, trying to squeeze her hand in a contraction. Like I said, when he did the numbing, that hurts. I was like, you know, trying to brace myself for the epidural. And next thing I know, I feel him taping. And I'm like, is he done? Because, you know, once they do the epidural, they tape it in there really good, and then they tape the little pieces that goes to the monitor that gives you more medicine. So I was like, he couldn't possibly be done, because I didn't feel, when I tell you I didn't feel nothing, I didn't feel a thing. Whatever they numbed me with back there, it worked. He was like, all right, we done. And I was like, dang, okay, shoot. So epidural was not bad. Now, I've had a spinal tap before. I think that's what it's called, because they thought I had meningitis. This was years ago, and that was 10 times worse than the epidural. Now, mind you, the spinal tap wasn't that bad to me. It was a little painful, but it wasn't to the point where I was afraid of an epidural. I just thought an epidural would be worse than a spinal tap, or at least the same amount of pain, but this was nothing. So epidural was fine. Like I said, the most annoying part of getting the epidural is the position they want you to be in, and it's kind of hard to do that being pregnant and going through contractions, but you get it done. So I got it done, and after that, so as far as the epidural, I was not completely numb. I never went completely numb. I could still feel my legs. My legs started tingling, but they never went completely numb. And my contractions, I just never went numb ever. Like, even after I first got it, I did feel my body calm down, and it did lessen the pain of my contractions, but it never completely just wiped out my pain, or I did not go numb at all. So I don't know if they didn't give me enough dosage. I don't know if that's what they wanted to do. I don't know if it was just me, but it didn't, and I was actually okay with that, because when it came time to push, I could feel my contractions enough to know, okay, it's time to push. Because I've heard people say that they didn't know how to push because they truly couldn't feel anything, so they had to be like, okay, it's time to push. But am I pushing? You know, because they couldn't feel nothing. But I could still feel pressure. At that point in time, it wasn't pain, it was pressure. But let me get to that. Okay, so during my labor and delivery, I did have 2 scares. The first one came, they gave me the epidural. At that point in time, they jacked up the Pitocin again. And my contractions were back to back, to the point where there was no break in between them. They were just steady rolling back to back, back to back. By this time, I got dilated to a 7. And her anticipated arrival was that Tuesday evening between 7 and 9 o'clock. Like, that's how fast things were rolling. I was dilated to a 5, and I got my epidural around 2 or 3 o'clock. And like I said, things are going so fast that they were like, yeah, she'll probably be here between 7 and 9. So by that time, we alerted my family. They came. You know, everybody's there. We're excited. Things are moving. And like I said, my epidural, it didn't completely numb me, but it knocked out the pain to the point where I was chilling. It was like, oh, I feel a contraction, but I'm like, good, you know. So the nurse comes in, and I guess just to check me or whatever, she looks at the screen. And at this point in time, it was me, my mom, and one of my close friends was in the room with me. And by this time, her boyfriend came, and he took my boyfriend downstairs to get something to eat, because my boyfriend had been there the whole time, and he hadn't even left the room not once. And so he was like, mom was like, hey, just go, you know, just go take a walk, go take a breather. You know, my boyfriend was stressed out, and you know, all of that, just, you know, jitters and nervous. So like I said, at this point, everything was cool. So they stepped out to go get a bite to eat, go downstairs, take a walk, get some fresh air. And we laughing and chilling, talking, whatever. Like I said, she comes in, she looks at the monitor, and she tells my friend, press the nurse button. She presses it, and she says, you know what? I don't even remember what that nurse said. But just like that, 4 nurses flew into my room, and they just started moving me. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, well, you know, I'm just like, You know, I'm just here and they just start moving me. They get my arm. The lady gave me a shot in my arm. They move me to the side. Okay, get to this side. No. Okay, we'll turn to this side. No. Okay, well, and then another lady putting the oxygen mask on my face. And like I said, everything's just happening so fast, and they're just so, I'm just like, what the hell is going on? But I know something's wrong, but I don't want to ask because I'm afraid to ask. And then too, at that point, they were just so into it that I'm like, well, let me just let them do their job, and I'll ask what's going on later. Right now, let me just let them do whatever it is that they got to do. So a few seconds later, the doctor comes in. They put a monitor in vaginally on her head, and then they told me to get on all fours. By the time I got on all fours, things had calmed down. You know, nobody was saying anything. It looked like everybody was just watching the monitors. And so by this time, you know, when things calmed down, I said, what's going on? And they said her heart rate dropped dangerously low. And so we were trying to, you know, move you to get her out of distress pretty much. And at this point, I just started crying. I'm like, what? Her heart rate dropped? And, you know, they were like, it dropped. Her heart rate drops to like 50 something beats a minute. And so what they did was the shot they gave me in my arm stopped my labor, and then they were, I guess, positioning me to try to see if they can get me in a different position to help her heart rate stabilize and come back up to normal range. So once they got me on all fours, that worked, and I stayed on all fours for a minute. But the doctor said that it was completely normal. What happened with my contractions, as much as they were, my uterus not getting a break, and she dropped really low all in one. It was just too much for her. She said it happens kind of often. So what she did was she just said they would monitor me for a moment. They stopped my labor. The shot they gave me stopped the contractions, and they were just trying to get her stable. In the event, at that point, she did get stable. Once I got on all fours, they gave me the oxygen and everything, and they said that they were going to monitor her for a while and make sure she's good. If she did not stay in normal range and she still seemed in distress, they would do a C-section, because of course baby can't be in distress. So they tell me this, I start crying hysterically, and they're like, hey, you got to calm down, you have to remain calm. If you know, crying and hysterical, she's gonna be hysterical. You know, just relax, it's okay, it happens, but as long as she's good, we're gonna be okay. So by this time, my boyfriend came back in the room, and I guess they told him what happened, and then, you know, he starts freaking out. And by this time, he sat by their bedside, and he was like, I'm not leaving again. Like, that was his first time leaving the room, and this happened. So we're sitting there. By this time, they let me lay on my right side, and they just said to stay there, keep the oxygen mask on. And they were going to monitor her at the desk. And so we're looking at the monitor, looking at her heart rate, you know, just just staring at the screen. And oh my goodness, I can laugh about it now, but at the time, y'all, I just was so freaked out and so terrified, and just trying to remain calm, just because nobody wants to hear that something's happening to their baby. And to see that her heart rate was around 130 something, 140 something beats a minute, to get down to 50 something beats a minute, that's a lot. So on top of the fact that I didn't want them to do no C-section, but at that point in time, I was just like, whatever y'all need to do to make sure she's good. I don't want it, but hey, baby comes first, whatever needs to be done. So like I said, at this time, by the time this happened, a lot of my family that we called to say, hey, they said she'd be there around this time, they started arriving. So of course, she did not come around that time. They stopped my labor. So everybody came and they visited, and it kind of took my mind off of what was going on. Helped me to stop looking at the screen so much, looking at her heart rate. So after a couple hours, the nurse and the doctor came back in. They said, okay, we've been monitoring her. She looks like she's doing pretty good. So we're going to start you back on the Pitocin, but we're going to take it really slow, just to see how she responds to it. Because again, if she gets in distress, we're going to do a C-section. But also, you know, before things were happening, seemed like too fast for her. So we're going to slow the Pitocin down, and we're just going to see how that goes. So they started me back on the Pitocin around 10 o'clock that night, and they progressed things slowly. Around 2, almost 3 o'clock that morning, it was time to push. And Jaida Danielle Willis was born on Wednesday, July 26th at 3:23 in the morning. I only pushed for 30 minutes, and she came on out, which brings me to our second scare. before I get into that, let me back a little bit. So y'all, I will say, once we got into like 11 o'clock, I was so wore out. I was so tired. Y'all have to understand, I hadn't eat. You know, when you're induced, they tell you not to eat. So I ain't gonna lie, y'all, I ate right before I walked in them hospital doors. I was like, I'm finna have to be here all night. I'm not, because she told me don't eat nothing after 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock? And I got to come in here at 5, 6 o'clock and be here? No, ma'am. So I ate at 12, but I just ate a sandwich though, a light sandwich. But I ate that sandwich right before I walked in the hospital doors. Like, because I was like, I'm not going in here on an empty stomach. Once I got to the hospital, they did tell me, they gave me dinner, it was a light dinner. It was a sub sandwich and some chips. And they told me I could eat that. And then they told me I could drink, but I couldn't drink anything after midnight. And after midnight, I think it was just ice chips. So that was Monday. Here we are Wednesday, you know, late Tuesday. I haven't eaten nothing. I haven't had a nap, or I've been up. And to keep in mind too, at the end of my pregnancy, I wasn't getting no sleep anyway. That Monday night, excuse me, I didn't sleep because I was just so antsy about, you know, me being induced. That that Sunday night I didn't sleep. Not only I wasn't sleeping anyway, but I couldn't sleep because I was so worried about being induced on Monday. So all of this just, you know, boils down. Here we are Tuesday. Then she got in distress, and I'm just like, at this point, I'm just like, I am ready for this to be over with. Like, I'm tired, I'm wore out, I'm hungry. And honestly, y'all, it wasn't even the hunger that was killing me. My throat was dry as hell. Them ice chips wasn't doing it for me. Like, I would try to suck on the ice to get it worn down so I can have it, to, you know, break it down so I can have a nice gulp of water. It was not working. My throat was dry as hell. And I was just like, once I push her, I kept asking, once I push her out, I can have some water. She said, yes, you can have all the water you want as soon as you push her out. Okay, ma'am. So, like I said, so around 11 o'clock, I was just like, y'all, I'm so tired. Please pray that she comes on. Like, I'm tired, I'm wore out, I'm sleepy. And I just want her out. At that point, I was just over all of it. I wanted her out. So that was around, like I said, 11 o'clock. But like I said, things were progressing, but they were progressing really slow. They would come check me. They would come check me, and every time they would check me, it'd be like, well, you got a little bit of cervix left to go. I'm like, I'm still not ready. Baby, when that nurse came in, when the doctor came, at this time the doctor came in to check me. Like I said, this was Tuesday morning around 2:30, 2:45. The doctor came in, she said, cervix is completely gone. We're ready to push. Thank you, Jesus. Like, that was, I was so loud. I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready. What y'all need me to do? Like, I was just like, what we need to do? I'm ready. I'm going to push with all my might. I need her to come out. I am so ready for this to be over with. Okay. So, what I did not know, and this is probably just... Okay, I'm back. Sorry, my camera died. So, what I was saying is, what I did not know about pushing, and like I said, this is just probably me being... I don't know what I was thinking, but I did not know that when you push, you had to hold your breath. I was like, I gotta hold my breath for 10 seconds and you count slow? Ma'am, I don't know how this gonna work. But anyway, so I started pushing, and in the beginning, you can see her head. And then another thing too, sidebar. So my boyfriend's there. Keep in mind, the whole pregnancy, he kept saying, when you pushing, I'm not gonna look, I'm not gonna look. He all down there. I can see her head. She has hair. And I'm just like, I thought you wasn't look. I wasn't tripping, but I was just like, I thought you wasn't gonna look. But anyway, so I'm pushing. In the beginning, like I said, they're down, but it's like they'll push out and they'll kind of come back. And it's like once you get them past that threshold where they stay down, then that's when things can really pick up. So like I said, I only pushed for 30 minutes. So like I said, which brings me to our second scare. So I pushed, my second to last push, her whole head came out. Her head was up. They suctioned, and this is what they tell me. Of course, I can't see. So he said they suctioned her nose and her mouth. And it was like, one more push, mommy. Just get the shoulders out and we'll be good. So I gave my last push with all my might. She came out. But apparently when she came out, she flipped over and inhaled a bunch of fluid and poop and everything. So when she came out, now before this, they did ask me, do you want, if I wanted her on my chest when she came out? And I said yes. So they had put the little blue thing down, But when she came out, the pediatric nurse snatched her and she was like, here's your baby. And they turned around and started doing whatever they doing. Now, mind you, at this time, I didn't know she inhaled any fluid. I didn't see what happened. I didn't know none of this. All I know is my baby came out. I told them I wanted her on my chest, but you just took her. Now, in the hospital that I was in, they did do... Alright, so y'all, my camera's tripping. I don't know what's going on, so I'm gonna wrap this up real quick. But I did tear, and I did feel them stitching me up. Again, my epidural did not numb me completely, and I guess by this time it had completely worn off. I did hear that they usually give you a shot before they stitch you up, but she didn't give me no shot. And I don't know if it's because I only got 5 stitches and it wasn't a lot or what, but yeah. So I actually have a doctor's appointment today that I'm about to head to now. And I will be back to update you guys on postpartum and her 1 month update and everything like that. So like I said, I'm gonna get out of here because my camera tripping and I ain't got time. So talk to y'all later.